All right, here we go. Sports Bit, Betting Insight today. Pauly and Teddy, SPR picks. I'm at Real Sports Bit. He's at Teddy underscore covers. We'll take questions later on, part of the live chat, as we do it live every day now. We'll get to game two of the Stanley Cup Finals coming up. Vegas is rocking, trying to make it 2-0 and 14-3 in the playoffs overall. They're favored today at home, and you won't believe the rating for game one locally. We'll touch on that as well. And the Colts are up today. Team previews coming up. We'll continue with the AFC South and a couple Manziel props as well. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Bad beats first, Teddy. Astros and the under. The total was 9. They were laying $1.20. Morton was okay. 10 strikeouts, only gave up 3 runs. Gardner hits a two-run homer in the ninth to tie it at 5. They win in the 10th, 6-5. It's the 4th time since the 60s that the Yankees won a game and had 5 errors.
And the 5 errors, of course, stands out. But from a betting perspective, we're talking about a Houston team that doesn't have a bullpen edge against the Yankees. Nobody's got a bullpen edge against the Yankees. So when somebody blows a save against the Yanks, we're going to go, oh, bad beat, bad beat, bad beat. Which it was. Total bad beat, side bad beat. But Yankees aren't going to blow a lot of save opportunities. Houston's bullpen's been spotty. That was certainly the case last night. Bad result for Astros backers and under backers, both of whom got hosed in the bottom of the ninth.
Mets do it again. They were plus $1.20. They led 4-0, 6-2, and 6-3 in the bottom of the 8th. They lose 7-6. Braves with another walk-off. The Mets should have swept the series. The bullpen blew 2 of the 3 games.
Yeah, of course, Matz left early yesterday. He left after only 3 innings. He had something tightened up, and he left. So there were 4 relievers in the game for the Mets. Every one of those relievers gave up at least 1 run. And the Atlanta Braves, we keep talking about Atlanta day in, day out on this show, Pauly. Atlanta continues to find ways to win. I like that team. I like that team enough. Maybe put a little futures bet on the Braves in my pocket.
Wow. Interesting. All right. I thought I had a steal with $1.20 with the Nats to win the division. They're only a half game back, but the Braves, they could be a playoff team, no doubt, the way they're playing. One bet for the books. Big move on the Indians. 240 up to 290. They beat the White Sox 7-3. Some bad bets. The 2 worst teams in ROI took money. The Orioles at home against the Nats. They were the dog, went off the favorite. And every night the Dodgers seem to take money. I know the Las Vegas loves them. $1.50 up to 180. They'd had nothing. Maeda, one of the worst pitchers in ROI. They lost at home 6-1 to the Phillies. Arrieta pitched well.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about the Dodgers as a solid candidate to lay $1.80 with, not this year, maybe last year, maybe over the last 5 years, they won division titles every single season. Not in 2012. I was shocked to see the money come to the Dodgers. And you talk about the bad teams getting money. The White Sox are taking money and the Orioles are taking money. I understand the concept. You look for value wherever you find it. But in MLB, your team's actually got to win the game in order to cash that value-laden ticket. Baltimore, again last night, did not get the job done.
All right, Manziel going to play in the CFL. There's some props up from BetDSI. They do some good entertainment props as well. They got some who will be the next James Bond, which is some good stuff up there. What do you think of some of these Manziel props?
Yeah, and look, let me start with a warning on BetDSI. They are not one of the highest-rated books. We talk about them here on SportsBet because they put on interesting props that are worth talking about. Low limits, but newsworthy nonetheless. So, good, but interesting props on Manziel. Will he start in week 1 against Hamilton? No, minus $3. Over-under on the total games he's going to start. Under 8.5 is the chalk there. Passing touchdowns during the regular season, over-under 14.5. Look, if you think Manziel's going to play, and from all indications, he might. A lot of these over props will make sense. If he's going to be sitting on the bench, it's not going to matter. But I love the 2 at the bottom. Will he join an NFL roster during the 2018 and 19 regular season? The no, minus $5. Will he be arrested before Super Bowl Sunday?
Yes.
The no, minus 2,000. It is, after all, Johnny Manziel props.
Yes. Well, hopefully he's clean and he can stay clean and get back in the league. We'll see. We'll do more of that coming up with the shot clock. Here we go. Game 2, Stanley Cup Final. Knights at home against the Capitals. Knights $1.50, 5.5 over, minus 125. $1.60 to 170 here in town. It's nothing but Knights money, an avalanche of Golden Knights money every night. And they also a horrible result for the books Monday as they score with 3 seconds left to get there on the puck line. They are 13-3 at home in the playoffs. Excuse me, 13-3 overall in the playoffs. 7-1 at home, and 11-1 in the playoffs when they score first. Everything came in game one. It goes over, and also they score first and one again. The fourth line continues to get it done. They won them the game in Game 5 in Winnipeg, and they scored 3 times in the third period. Couple interesting notes here as far as the total. Both goalies upset at how they played. It was also wide open hockey, and maybe that will continue with the schedule because Game 3 wouldn't be till Saturday. So you have a lot of multiple off days with some of these with the scheduling spot. But Holtby, most goals allowed since middle of February. Fleury didn't play well either. The third and the fourth goal were kind of weak. He allowed more goals in Game 1 than the entire first round against the Kings. He's been awesome with 4 shutouts in the playoffs. That's something to watch. And the winner tonight, if the Knights win and go up 2-0, they'd be 14-3 in the playoffs. With a win tonight, you're telling me the Capitals are going to win 4 out of 5? And in Stanley Cup final history, the team that goes up 2-0 is 46-5 all time to win the series.
There is 5 losses during that stretch, but obviously 46-5, pretty good subset to be on if you are a Golden Knights fan, or if you're one of many who hold a Golden Knights future in your pocket. Look, this has become a national story in a big way. Wall Street Journal talking about the liability of the Vegas sportsbooks on the Golden Knights. It's been a story in the New York Times and the Washington Post. I'm waiting for it to be on the nightly news. Hasn't gotten there yet, but the betting liability for Las Vegas, an estimated $5 to $7 million if the Knights win the series. That's a national story. It's also going to affect the money line for every game. You're going to see a difference between the Las Vegas numbers and the offshore numbers. And we're seeing it very clearly here in Game 2, where the prices in Vegas are shaded towards Vegas because they're getting nothing but action on the Golden Knights. And we talked about Game 1. Look, Paul, you and I had a discussion which game was going to be more entertaining, Game 7 or Game 1. It wasn't close. You know, Game 1 was fun to watch, and I'm not even a hockey fan. So when you put that in perspective, I don't necessarily think it's going to be quite as entertaining in Game 2. Clearly, night of the players. You know, Fleury. You know, Game 1 was exciting to watch, but it wasn't a goalie's favorite. We'll see. You never know. It's a long series. When you talk about Derek Engelland, the Vegas defenseman, quote, I think it's going to tighten up a little bit. Listening to everything that was said after the game, they want to clean up some areas, as do we. Not having those little breakdowns is huge. It seemed like every little breakdown was ending up in your net or in their net. Both teams are going to look to clean that up and come out ready to go. So the goalies and the players saying Game 2 might not be so quite wide open compared to Game 1.
They're going to call penalties tonight. Wilson should have been suspended for that hit on Marsh's show that wasn't called. He should have. I can't believe they didn't suspend him. And also Reeves' cross-check, which led to the 4th goal as well. Washington was livid about that. There was each team only had 1 power play in Game 1. So I think they'll see him call some penalties tonight. But the Golden Knights are 3-0 against the Capitals this year, and Washington is 0-7 on the power play in those 3 games too. So I'm confident. Again, I'm confident they're going to get a game in D.C. So if the Capitals can't win tonight, that could just about do it because the Knights are just ripping through these playoffs as well. But the atmosphere has been terrific. 6,000 people outside the plaza. You saw Little John with the concert, but how loud it is and the home ice advantage. Capitals saying the right things too. They didn't play well. They were sloppy. Also check the ice. They have to do a better job with the ice. It's going to be 100 degrees tonight as they had issues with the ice in Game 1. The Capitals weren't happy with that. There was a Pink concert over the weekend. It wasn't as cold in the arena as it should be. So that's something to watch. I think you'll see even more opportunities if the ice cooperates. But, you know, Heller missed a wide open net that would have tied it with 40 seconds left as well. So it was even as bad as the Capitals played. Who knows? That could have went to overtime. Anything could have happened. Some of the props. Will either team score in the first 10 minutes? Yes, minus 140. Will the game go to overtime? No, minus $4. I'll give out a prop before we get out of here that I like a lot. Will Ovechkin score? No, minus $2. Will the team that scores first win the game? Yes, minus 280. Capitals goals over 2.5, over minus 120, all courtesy of the Westgate here in Vegas. Will Wild Bill Carlson score a goal? Yes, plus 150. Marcia shows plus 170. Neil plus no minus 280. Yes, plus 230. And will the Knights score at least one goal in the first period? Yes, 180. The handle's through the roof, Teddy. There were more tickets on game 1 of the Stanley Cup here than game 7, Rockets and Warriors. Also locally, the game got a 44 share. Almost 1 out of every 2 TVs were on the game. It was going against game 7 of the Western Conference.
Yeah, and it was on Memorial Day. I mean, who wasn't watching? Everyone in town is watching, but it feels like, I'm not going to call it irrational exuberance, but let's not forget what the Caps have done this postseason. They fell behind 0-2 to Columbus and then came back and won that series in 6. They lost their opener at home to the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champ Penguins. Rallied to win that series, taking 4 out of the next 5. They trailed Tampa 3-2, losing game 5 at home, went out and won game 6 on the highway and then held on, or game 1, lost game, whatever. They won the last 2 games, including the road win in game 7. I'm sorry, I didn't mean in game 6. But they faced adversity and they've bounced back strong when facing adversity. I don't think this series is done after 1 game, and I would not be surprised at all to see the Caps tie this up at 1-1 tonight.
All right. Golden Knights can do a better job as well. We'll see how they respond coming up. Appointment television tonight from Vegas. What's going on with the chat?
Let's take a look, man. We got all kinds of stuff out there. We really appreciate the comments, guys, and thank you very much. Mikey D, oh my gosh, what a game 1. And first Stanley Cup final to ever have 4 lead changes. It was so awesome.
Yep.
Was that the best Stanley Cup final game? I mean, I don't know how many better games than that I've seen, Pauly. Not many.
Oh, it might be game, yeah. For game 1, yeah. With the 4 lead changes, he's right. That was wide open. I think it was the highest scoring Stanley Cup game in 2010, 2011, something like that. So a ton of goals. Yeah.
Sure, they're leaning over 5.5. A bit surprised not to see 6. They're saying with more power plays, I like the over. Joe Kim, public's going to bet the over because that's what they saw in game 1.
So do I.
That's my biggest concern here with the over tonight because there is going to be a ton of over money. We're already seeing it as we approach kickoff. Tip-off, yes. Go on.
Well, I've been watching them play here for a long time. What I mean by that is probably since December. Fleury has always bounced back after a poor game, even in the playoffs. Yep. He's been awesome and standing on his head. So that's one thing that I could see both sides of the total. There are going to be more power. They're definitely going to call penalties after the shenanigans of Wilson and Reeves in game 1. But Fleury has always bounced back in the playoffs with a strong showing after he doesn't play well. And he did not play well in game 1.
Adam Lopez is asking, what do you suggest for someone trying to find your way in the industry? I don't know what industry you're talking about. As a sports bettor, the way to find your way, win bets. People start to notice when you win bets. And over the long term, they will pay attention. If you're talking about the broadcasting angle, start a podcast. SBR is always looking for new and exciting talent. And you don't need to be on SBR. You can start your own. And again, if you win, sooner or later, you'll attract some attention.
All right. Thanks to Intertop Sportsbook, 22 years online. Sign up, deposit, and win. We'll take questions every day here on the show. Team previews continue. The Colts, 6.5, the win total. Last year, horror show. No luck. Season was over week 1. 4-12 straight up. 8-8 ATS. 10-6 to the under. Remember, they put, the Wisconsin quarterback, Tolzien, started week 1 against the Rams. Oh, my God, what a horror show. And then they traded for Brissett. Total offense, 2nd worst. Passing offense, 3rd worst. Total defense, 30th. Horror show, Teddy. Now, Ballard's the new GM. He replaced Grigson, who did a bad job. It's his 2nd year as GM. And it's. I know you have luck, and you don't know about his status. It's a total rebuild, Teddy. Grigson didn't leave him a good roster.
Let's start with the coaching staff, all right? Because you're bringing in my opinion, as good a hire as you can have in Frank Reich. And of course the Colts wanted Josh McDaniels, and Josh McDaniels was supposed to be the hire, and then Josh McDaniels said, not so much. I'm going back to Indy. Yep. And lo and behold, they end up with Frank Reich, who I think is just fine. Of course, we're talking about a guy who's famous as a quarterback, leading they were down 31 against Miami and rallied them back in college. An undefeated Miami team. In the NFL, the 32-point comeback in the 1992 playoffs, the biggest comeback in NFL playoff history. And of course, last year, brilliant play calling throughout from day one, getting a backup quarterback to win the Super Bowl. There's a lot to like about Frank Reich in terms of his ability to A, craft a roster, and B, call plays, which he will be doing despite the fact new offensive coordinator Nick Sirianni is first-year, first-time coordinator. He's not going to be calling the plays, although he will be filling various offensive roles. The new defensive coordinator, and in my mind, this matters a lot, Matt Eberflus, a guy who worked under Rob Marinelli and the Cowboys since 2011 as a linebackers coach. He was the passing game coordinator last year. Now he gets a step-up chance in Indy. A bright guy who I think has potential to turn a defense that was woeful last year, Pauly, just woeful, into perhaps a decent unit.
They didn't, they were building through the draft as that's the right thing to do. They didn't do much. Ebron, tight end acquisition, free agency, Ryan Grant as well, Lasvonte Davis and Moncrief. But you grab Nelson. They had to go offensive line to protect Luck from Notre Dame. So a lot of people gave him an A grade as far as what Ballard did, and also in the draft. Draft grades, who knows? Get back to me in 5 years. But what do you think of some of the moves they made?
Well, it all starts with Luck. I mean, forget about the moves for Indy.
Yep.
Indy's season depends on Andrew Luck being healthy. If it's Jacoby Brissett, look, Brissett was serviceable in a backup role. But to see the Colts be a competitive team this year, that is coming down to Andrew Luck. And of course, we heard this last year. Oh, he's going to be ready for the start of training camp, and he ended up sitting out the whole season. Here's the quote from the GM, Chris Ballard, during a recent appearance on, Pro Football Live or something. The timeline's good. He's actually not even throwing a football. He's doing everything we've asked him to do. He's got a program specifically laid out that puts his timeline to be back at training camp. He didn't want to skip a step. I don't know if he skipped a step last year, but I think he felt the pressure of coming back. Not rushing. I don't want to say rushing, but, he felt the pressure of coming back, and he couldn't get back right. His body's in great shape. His arm feels really good. He looks the best I've seen him. He's just taking it step by step. Quote, we're looking at training camp as our target date right now. If Andrew Luck is back and healthy, we're not talking about a hopeless roster. We're talking about a roster, as you mentioned, you bring in a couple of decent receivers in Grant and Ebron to shore up the core, along with a decent talent level that they had. Certainly at wide receiver, it wasn't an issue. T.Y. Hilton got re-signed there. Defensively and on the offensive line is where this squad's had some significant issues. Of course, moving to pick up a guy like Quentin Nelson in the first round, likely to help that offensive line. Picking up Braden Smith in the second round, likely to help that offensive line. But it's certainly an OL and a defense that have question marks behind the Andrew Luck question marks, which is huge. But it's worth noting, if you think Luck is going to play this season, the Colts are lined 6.5 wins right now. If Luck plays, that number is going to skyrocket, 7, 7.5, whatever. I don't know how high it's going to get. It will go up. So if you think Luck's going to play, I would bet Indy over today. You'll be in good shape when the market moves in August once Andrew Luck hits the playing field.
Good job getting all those picks, 3 second-rounders from the Jets in that trade to move down. I will disagree with you. This roster stinks. Other than Hilton, he's the only playmaker on this team. So it's going to be, if Luck is banged up or can't go from the get-go, it'll be another long season. Look at the running backs. Oh, my God. There's nothing to work with here. And if they got to be able to protect them, too, which I know they tried to address the offensive line. My God, what's happened to this organization?
Was the best organization in football. All right, it's good. We talk about the consistency of the Colts. They were right there with the Patriots, not in the modern era. We look at Indy's schedule for the 2018, and again, the AFC South teams play AFC East and NFC East, so not a ton of travel. Indy's 2 extra games, Cincy at home in week 1, and then at Oakland. Not overly difficult when you look at the 2 extra games. This is not
tough out of the gate.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, I said tough out of the gate.
Yeah, but no question. They have Cincy at Washington, at Philly, Houston at home, at New England. They could easily go 1-4. You wouldn't be shocked. They could go 2-3, pull an upset or 2. All of a sudden, this team's live. Yeah. Then they have Jets, Bills, Raiders. This is not a brutal slate for Indy. It really isn't. And if they can get out of that opening tough slate with a decent record, I lean Colts over. I'll tell you what, I already have Indy over in my pocket just because I expect Andrew Luck to suit up. Don't know if it's going to be a good bet in August, but I can decide what to do with it in August when the Colts are lined at 7 or 7.5 and not the 6.5 that are out there right now.
Tough division. 2 playoff teams, and Houston gets Watson back and Watt. And I figure they should go over 8.5 in my opinion, but no favors here. That stretch where 4 out of 5, they're on the road at Washington, at Philly, at New England, at the Jets, and the home game is against the Texans. That's a tough schedule. All right, very good. Team previews every day here. Once we get going through, we're off in July, so we'll be running rapid fire here with all these team previews. Time to turn the shot clock on. What do you have on Manziel?
Yeah, okay, so I thought it would be interesting to discuss. Let's talk about Johnny Manziel. When will his next NFL touchdown be? And I picked a random date. I said over under November 1st, 2019. That allows him to play this season in Canada and then, in theory, next season in the NFL if he's going to get there. So over under November 1st, 2019 for Johnny Manziel's next NFL touchdown. And I'm taking under. I think Manziel can play. I think he's going to have success in Canada. I think he's going to win that starting job. I think he's going to be in NFL camp, and I think he's going to win an NFL job. This is a kid who he got too much, too fast, too young. All right? Could have happened to any of us. If I'd have been an internet superstar at the age of 19, it'd have been a disaster for me, Pauly. Same thing for you. Manziel's matured. He's got the talent. I say under November 1st, 2019 for his next NFL touchdown.
Yeah. You give me a couple million a year, I won't be a raging alcoholic. I can tell you that. The one thing is, who says he can play? He didn't do anything when he got in there. I know he won a game, but whoop-de-damn-do, which actually might get a medal for that, considering the Browns are 1-31 the last couple of years. I don't think the kid can play, and he's too small. But good luck to him. We'll see if it works out in the CFL, and if he's back in the NFL, I'll go over in that one. Money time, play of the day. The only thing to watch tonight, Game 2, Stanley Cup. Knights at home. It'll be rocking outside, inside, and outside with the Plaza. Let's go with a prop I like a lot. Will Oshie have a point? Yes, absolutely. I think he had 3. Let me count it. 1, 2. He had
multiple.
Where's that first goal? He had 2 assists in game 1. I think absolutely we'll look at that power play going as well. I think Oshie will have a couple assists at least tonight. He is even money. $1.20, yes, some shops, depends where you shop. Oshie to have a point in the game tonight, game 2. And hard to make a decision on the total in that one. We're back tomorrow. The NBA Finals are here. The price continues to go up on Golden State, and we'll have an update on Love and Iguodala, hopefully, as well, as it's the only time this has happened in the 4 major sports. The 4th year in a row, the same teams have met in the finals. We'll preview that as well and recap the Stanley Cup on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com. I'm at Real SportsBet. He's at Teddy_Covers. Thanks for watching.